Hello, cosmic beings. Welcome to Being Cosmic. If this is your first time here, welcome, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. I am so glad that each and every one of you are here. My name is Devon, and I'll be doing a collective message. So, with that, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Alrighty. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. And thank you for your support on the channel. The likes, shares, comments, subscribes, and of course the donations all do help out. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you're interested in a personal reading from me, you can find that information in the description box below. Okay. I didn't even know there was a hermit card in this deck. We've got the hermit. Um, there's a question on the bottom of the card, and it says, "Who will you become in silence?" So you could definitely be kind of taking a pause right now, taking a pause, taking a break from being around a lot of people, going out and doing a lot of like social things or like going to like big crowded social events. This is really the energy of like either staying at home or just kind of like being by yourself in nature, maybe with one other person. But you're not really spending a whole lot of time with other people. You're pulling back and going in and finding out who you are beneath the surface. So, okay. So, what's going on? And this is good because this is where you find yourself. It really is. This is where you find your authenticity. This is where you find, and there's a lot that happens in hermit mode. It just depends on, where you're at on the journey and what you're focusing on and stuff like that. But it's like, who are you when you're not trying to be accepted by other people? Who are you when you're not looking for external validation? Who are you beneath it all? Really, really asking those kind of like more, what is it, existential questions. I don't know if that's the right term, but like what do I believe in? Like source, spirit, God, universe, the divine, spirit guides. Maybe you're delving into things like you're looking into past lives. And you're like, do I believe in this or do I not? Maybe looking into things like aliens. And you're like, ooh, multidimensional beings, those kinds of things. Just kind of deep diving this type of stuff. Like this is the energy where you're doing things. It's just from the outside looking in. When you're in this mode, a lot of people, unless they've done it themselves, it looks like you're not doing much. It looks like you're not making much progress. It looks like you're just, I heard being a loner and being unsocial and all of this. And while on the surface, maybe it looks like that, it's actually it's a very active space. Being in hermit mode is a very active space, but it's active in the sense of it's introspective. So you might just be sitting there maybe like lighting some incense and candles and just sitting there. Maybe you're playing with crystals, whatever. You could be sitting, you could be doing, I'm getting like plant medicine for some of you. Um, so you could be doing stuff like that, but it literally, like, if somebody were to view you from the outside looking in, it looks like you're just sitting there. And those of us that have been in hermit mode and understand what you're actually doing will get it. But most people are just like, well, you're just at home all the time and you just don't want to come out anymore and you're just kind of different and, all of that fun shit. And it's like, well, yeah, dude. Yeah, because I'm asking myself some fucking intense questions and coming into some intense fucking answers. Um, so it's really a beautiful place to be. It really is. This is actually where the bulk of the work happens. And then all of a sudden, what will end up happening as a result of this is the internal work. When you do the internal work like this, what eventually happens, what eventually has to happen, is your external reality will start to reflect the internal changes that you've made. So all of a sudden, from the outside looking in, it looks like you just kind of fell the fuck off for a little bit. You just disappeared. You just pulled away. You showed up to things that you had to show up to for like, family gatherings and holiday stuff. And then other than that, you're just kind of, doing your own thing. You're not really engaging with a whole lot of people. You're not doing a whole lot. And then all of a sudden you hit a level up. And then all of a sudden you're like aligning with your, perfect person romantically. And then you're calling in some soul friend, like soul tribe friends. And then you're then your finances level up, and then your career levels up, and then you change careers, and then you move locations. Then, it's like all these different things all of a sudden start happening. And then people are like, whoa, how'd you do that? And it's like, well, that whole time when you thought I was doing nothing, I was doing a whole lot of the opposite of nothing. It just appeared as nothing from the surface or from the outside looking in. So this is really good. It really is. And then, oh, with Kaliak, 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 Kaliak. Hmm. I'm not sure how to say this. What wisdom are you gathering? So yeah, with the hermit mode, it's like you're going within and you're finding your own internal wisdom. And that's the other thing here too, is you get to a certain point on the journey and you realize the answers that you seek externally, if you turn that and you focus internally, you'll find your answers. Um, so this is finding that internal wisdom. This is finding out like what's good for me, what's right for me, what do I want, what's in alignment for me at this point, what do I actually want my life to look like, what do I want to feel like on the regular basis in my life, that kind of thing. It's just I can say this a lot. Magic words. What are you speaking into being? Okay. You could be learning, or you could be learning about manifestation, or you could be working with manifestation practices and techniques. That's really what I'm getting from this. And it's also being mindful of your words, not gossiping, not yeah, just understanding like your words have power. We literally speak our reality into existence. And so this could be something that you have the awareness of now and like, holy shit, like there is really something to this. Or this is something that you're now discovering. Is like the power of your words and your intentions. And and there's the whole thing of like thoughts create your reality. And yes, that's true. However, it's not every single thought that's going to manifest because there's a delay for a reason. Um the higher you vibrate, the quicker you manifest. The slower that, or the less time there's that delay. So there's a delay in your thoughts becoming a reality for a reason. And it's because if you think about it, when you're kind of just in a pissy mood and you're driving and somebody cuts you off, think about those thoughts that you might have for that person. Now think about if you were to instantly be manifesting, and then now think about that on a global level. It would be chaotic. So there's a delay by design. The higher you vibe and the more you understand how this works and you're retraining the thoughts that you're attaching to, then that delay lessens because you're in a different vibration. And when you're in a different vibration, you can start to manifest quicker. And then you can get to a level where you literally start to instantly manifest. Um, and so I feel like maybe you're really kind of discovering some of that in really understanding how powerful you are as a sovereign being and a spark of the creator walking around in a human body, and understanding that you're a creator being, literally. As a human you are a creator being, whether you choose to or not. That's, you have access to that energy. And so this could also be understanding that it's learning what thoughts to attach to and what charge you give your thoughts. That's really what is the more powerful aspect of that. So if you're thinking negative thoughts and then you're like, oh, I'm thinking negative thoughts, stop thinking negative thoughts. Oh, I can't stop thinking about negative thoughts. And oh my God, I'm going to manifest all these things. Rah, 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 right? So you go on that whole thing. Then what you can kind of start to do is go, okay, negative thoughts in and of themselves aren't bad. It's if you are attaching to them and then fueling them with a lot of emotional energy, that's when you start to manifest it. And so that could be something that you're really kind of learning too, is like, okay, if you look at thought form as if you look at thoughts as an energy form and you are just receiving those thoughts, then you can kind of turn your receiver and start picking up on, you consciously choose better feeling thoughts. And then you attach to those and charge those with that positive feeling. And then that's when you're going to start manifesting the life that you actually want. So this is profound. This is some really profound inner work that's happening right now. A lot of, another thing that hermit mode does is it does bring out like healing and it can illuminate some core wounds and, patterns and all sorts of things. So, it's again, it's a very active space. It just, unless you've been in this energy and understand what this entails, a lot of people don't understand what is actually happening behind the scenes when you're in hermit mode. But this is what's happening behind the scenes is literally you get to start changing your entire life and in aligning with a life that you want to live with. Um, Sleep. Okay, let's talk about dreams. So you could be having very active dreams right now. You could be having a very active dream state. Um, shit. Hold on, I just swirled this out of here. I'm gonna have to pause it. Hold on. Um, Sorry, had a little moment. I'm drinking mushroom coffee, and so it like settles. So I swirled it, and then it flipped out all over. So had to clean that up. Anyhow, okay. So with this card, it's talking about sleep, and then it's really talking about dreams. And so you could be experiencing very vivid dreams right now. Um, you could be getting messages in your dreams. You could be, yeah, just having a lot of dream communication. Um, yeah, I mean, ultimately, that's all that's coming off of about that. So really, yeah, it's more just having that overactive dream state. I would definitely recommend getting a dream journal. Another thing you can do, so like for me, I have on a pretty regular basis, I'll actually wake up multiple times and remember multiple dreams. It's pretty common for me to wake up and remember four more dreams that I had in a night. And if you have a piece of paper with like a pen or pencil on like your nightstand, and just like a blank piece of paper, like a notebook, and then without even turning on the light, just write. And it's going to be a mess, but when you turn on the light, it can actually, it activates the brain in a way where it pulls the conscious mind online a little bit more. So you'll forget a lot of the details pretty quickly. So if you can just write down some of those details on a piece of paper and it can look messy, and then you can just write it down and then go back to sleep. And then when you wake up, you look at it and it will have you recall parts of it, and then you can actually like put it in a dream journal. And the things that I recommend putting in a dream journal so you can start to track patterns over a period of time is like different things like astrological stuff. Is it an eclipse, like solar eclipse season? Is it, you can look at moon phases, you can look at retrogrades, you can look at, um, if it's the like your fuck, what is it? Like your sun sign. So if we're in Leo season right now and I'm recording this. So if it's Leo season and you're a Leo, put that down because sometimes there's astrological things that will bring things up to the surface for you to look at and so on and so forth. You'll start to track themes. And so I'd be like, okay, when it's a full moon lately, this has been what's coming up for me. Or a new moon, or, this zodiac thing, or, just different things in life too. So, like, obviously, if you're struggling with finances and then you're having dreams where you're worried about money in your dreams, put that down because then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I was having some financial stuff and I was dreaming of financial stuff or the polar opposite. Like I was dealing with some financial difficulty and then I started dreaming about like finding money everywhere in my dreams. And it's little things like that where you can start kind of clocking some of these patterns and then you can create a relationship with it so that when you have a dream you start to understand it without needing to like dissect it. And it's one of those like if you start to understand different themes in dreams and what different things represent, then when you go to interpret it the next day, you're like, oh, okay, this is what the dream is illuminating to me that I'm being called to look at in my conscience awakening state, whatever. When I'm awake and conscious. Anyways, okay. Predators. Interesting. I've never seen this card. What predatory forces are at work in your life? I'm gonna read this. Okay. So it says the predator archetype would cease to exist without the victim. Predators are certainly fearsome, and we must learn to recognize them and acknowledge our own predatory urges. We must also learn not to use the strength of a predator's darkness to punish ourselves. Are there predators you yourself draw in by dwelling too deeply in the victim archetype? Examine your own attachment to woundedness. These internal patterns might prove even more shadowed and entrenched than any external predator. Once you recognize the patterns, you can learn how to conquer them. Interesting. So we were just talking about patterns. So maybe you're looking at different things like patterns, like when, because it's hard, it's one of those, like, a lot of us have been in actual situations where we literally have been the victim, right? And and then there's trauma, and then there's healing, and then there's all of that. And then it's one of those, it can be easy, especially because we're taught to give our power away. So societally, we're taught to give our power away. And so what that does is that makes us feel like a victim because we don't have control over it because we're giving our power away. So then when you start calling your power back, it's kind of a two-part thing because then you get to go through the whole grief process of realizing, like, holy shit, I didn't have to live life this way up until this point. If I would have known now what I knew back then, or vice versa, if I would have known back then what I know now, I wouldn't have done X, Y, and Z and A, B, and C. But it's one of those things where it's like, it's a process. Feel your feelings, allow it to move, and then, pull into that sovereignty. And remember that you are a conscience creator. And so if you're finding yourself stuck in that victim mentality, I feel like you're being called to kind of look at that. Maybe this is something you've been looking at in hermit mode right now, is kind of looking at when you've kind of been in the victim mentality of, well, I just can't do this thing because it's just not in the cards for me. And so then that caused me to do X, Y, and Z and act in certain ways. And I was giving my power away. Like, we're taught to give our power away all the time in this society. You give your power away to authority figures. You give your power away to, your boss. You give your power away to doctors. You give your power away to, family members. Like, we're taught to give our power away a lot so that, that we're easily controlled. Anyways, um, so it's really kind of unpacking that, and it's a lot to unpack, and it's going to happen in layers. So go easy on yourself. And that's the thing too, is understand you don't have to do it all right now. So if you're illuminating, if a lot of this is being illuminated to you and you're unpacking a lot of this, unpack it to a point, and also don't forget to live. And that is something, I was stuck in shadow work and hermit mode and all of that for a fucking long time. And then I would come out and live a little bit, and then some other shit would happen. Then I'd be in hermit mode again for another 6 months to a year and just disappear from, whatever. But that's just been my journey for years at this point. But it's been, again, it's an active thing. And it's just like, okay, this thing wasn't fully healed because I started engaging with a new friend group that started to have some of these similar patterns, and then pull back. And then, okay, so what was that illuminating to me? And then you do a little bit deeper, and then you get back out there and you live again. And so remember to, to do your inner work, and then also listen to your intuition, because when your intuition and the divine comes through and it's like, okay, it's time to pull out of hermit mode, it's time to go out and live a little bit, it can be a little, we can get really comfortable in hermit mode. And like, I just don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with the drama. I don't want to deal with the bullshit. I don't want to do that shit anymore. It's exhausting, and I don't want to do those dynamics anymore. I'm done. Well, the thing is then what will happen when you decide that you're done with certain dynamics? So you understand where in your life that you've been the quote unquote predator. You understand where in your life that you've been the quote unquote victim, like in the victim mentality. And then if you have been an actual victim of trauma, then you go in and you do some of that trauma work and the trauma healing and all of that stuff. Then the divine's going to push you to go out in people again. And the thing is what this does is you will be put in situations with certain people that might kind of, it, I don't really like to call it a test, but it kind of feels like that, where All of a sudden you'll meet a new friend and then you're like, "Oh, this is so great." And this person, like, this is such a different friendship than I've ever had. And then all of a sudden some of these little patterns will start to creep up, or you'll start to notice certain feelings. Maybe you'll start to notice an unbalanced energetic exchange between you and that person. That's kind of starting to kind of repeat some things that you experienced in the past. And then that's the divine going, "Are you really done? Did you fully learn your lesson?" And then, you pull back and you're like, "Wait a minute, I don't want to do that anymore. And I'm comfortable in hermit mode. I'm okay in hermit mode. So I don't need this." And so, you pull back in, you're like, "Okay," and then you go that layer deeper. And then, you'll do it a few times. And then all of a sudden you'll get to a point where you go deep enough and you fully actually heal that wound completely. And you change some of those it's an energy thing. So you're changing your energy in such a way that all of a sudden you stop aligning with those types of people, and then you are really done. And so just know that if all of a sudden you've done a lot of healing and then you find yourself in another, I heard karmic situation, sometimes that's why. So don't beat yourself up for it if that has happened. It's just opportunities to go another layer deeper and another layer deeper. Ultimately though, it's really powerful. This is really powerful stuff that you're doing. This is life-changing work. So make sure you give yourself a pat on the back for that. And also, just and I feel like you already know this, there's gonna be a whole hell of a lot of people around you that do not understand what you're doing. They don't fucking get it. They're gonna judge it. They're gonna be like, "What's wrong with you? Are you okay? We're worried about you," so on and so forth. And it's just one of those like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm just kind of changing from, the inside out and tapping into my own authenticity." So you are going to be different, and that's a good thing. Because this is where you can really start to tap into that sovereignty, that authenticity, and really start manifesting and creating the life of your dreams in alignment with the divine. And when you're co-creating in alignment with the divine, magic happens, miracles happen. And then that's what will start to catch attention of other people who, maybe they kind of wrote you off and were like, "Ah, we don't know." And then all of a sudden you come out just boss level and they're like, "What the fuck?" And you're like, "Yeah, dude, that's what I was doing." It's all good. Um, but in a humble way, because we've deconstructed the ego at this point. Um, But, it still feels good. The ego's still gonna get a kick out of it. Like, it's still like, yeah. Remember all those times when. Yeah. Anyways. And it's okay to feed your ego every now and again. Just saying, don't starve the ego, because when you starve the ego, it's creating another shadow aspect that you're gonna have to, or you're gonna get to integrate later. So, feed the ego and also keep the ego in check, and understand the ego is a good thing as long as it's in balance. Okay. Door. Door, door, door. Hmm. Okay. What might you unlock? Never seen that one either. And spinning. Okay. We're going to take a peek at these. So we've got door. A time may come or has come when you wish to let someone through the door of your heart. Who, if anyone, deserves the key? What parts of yourself are ready to share, and what parts are you still cultivating? Your heart is precious after all. It has infinite potential to transform, love, and open, just as it may wither in the wrong hands. Make sure whomever you trust with the key understands this as well. Ensure they are invested in your growth and adaptability, your soul's essential need to express itself, and not in your capture. Ooh. Oh, wow. That's wasn't expecting that. That's really fucking profound. So this could be something. What's really interesting is right when I looked at door, I heard door to romance, which is a card from a different deck that I used, and I was like, "Oh, that's weird." But that now it fucking makes sense. So this could be a romantic interest that you're debating on letting in fully. Um, and it might not be. For some of you, it might be. For some of you, it might not be. It doesn't have to be romantic. It can be, platonic and so on and so forth. And it's also, it's learning different levels of access that different people, I don't really want to say deserve, but kinda, it's just an energy thing. If somebody's not vibing in the same energy as you, don't give them unlimited access to you. It's just not wise. And I feel like you know that at this point. I feel like you've given some people access, or maybe you haven't, because this is a twofold thing. Sometimes we give people unlimited access that don't, quite, again, I'm gonna say deserve. It's more just they haven't done the internal work and they don't understand what a gift access to you in this deeper way is. And so because they don't understand that, they'll mishandle it. And then there's also the opposite of this where you're shutting people out and you're not letting people in because you don't trust to give anybody access to that side of you. And sometimes it's a twofer, right? Sometimes it'll be like a family member, a parent that has that unlimited access to you in a certain way. And they kind of mishandle it. It just is what it is. And then you shut other people out. And then, maybe vice versa. Like it's just going to depend. This is very, very, person specific thing going on here. But this is really like doing this inner work to start to understand and realize who actually deserves that access to you and who doesn't, who you can actually trust to be completely open and honest and vulnerable with, and who you cannot trust to be completely open, honest, and vulnerable with. It's not saying don't be honest. It's just more like, it's okay to keep certain people at an arm's length. You've gone through enough shit. You've got some boundaries for a reason. You've deconstructed some things. You've learned some things. Keep those boundaries in place. It's a good thing to have. That's a form of self-love, really. And then it's also understanding that not everybody on the planet is going to mishandle your heart. And so getting to the point where you're like, okay, I actually want to give somebody full access to this. And maybe that's scary. And I'm laughing because I kind of resonate with this. But anyways, it's kind of scary. Like, ooh, letting somebody all the way in after experiencing all the shit I've experienced and having these boundaries and I feel safe behind my boundaries and my walls. And then having that thought of like giving somebody more access, but it's somebody that can handle that access. It's somebody that will understand and respect that that is a gift. This isn't going to be somebody who's going to weaponize your vulnerability and throw it back in your face or use it against you later. This is somebody who's going to truly honor and appreciate the fact that you let them in. So this is really profound. This is, yeah, that's big. So good job. Like good job for getting to this point, because holy shit. That's, yeah, it's been quite the journey to get here, huh? Just saying. Like you walked through some shit, haven't you? Yeah. Anyways, can you spin straw into gold? So, spinning folklore often relates to fate and destiny. Each thread represents a choice with the power to alter fate. What do these threads look like in your own life? Spinning was once a communal activity during which women would exchange stories over the soft background drone of their wheels. Each story contained a lesson, a secret piece of wisdom. Find the hidden threads of knowledge you've wound onto your own spool and use them to create your own life. What? Hold on. And use them to create of your life a useful and beautiful tapestry. So, yeah, I feel like you're really in this beautiful energy where you're really understanding some of this stuff on how, like interpersonal relationships and things like that, and how different people, places, and things can affect your energy, and then pulling back from that, and doing some of this inner work to change who you are at the core level. And it's not really changing who you are; it's really remembering who you are, tapping into authenticity, and then having boundaries and respecting and honoring yourself and who you are, and also knowing your own limitations and things like that. And then, being open and willing to walk the journey and to continue doing this inner work when it comes up. And then you're in this beautiful place where you're doing all this internal work, and then you're also starting to understand that you can create the life of your dreams. And And I feel like maybe you're really playing with what does that look like? What do I want? If if it's limitless and I don't have to worry about this or that or this or that, if I can just if I remove all limitations, what does that look like? And then now what's coming up for me that's telling me I can't have the thing that I'm wanting to have? And is that actually true? Or is that a wound? Is that a program? Is that from past experience because I tried it before and it didn't work out, and kind of unpacking it and then being like, "Okay, now, like, I can live the life of my dreams, and what does that look like?" And, and I feel like part of this is definitely I'm getting this, like, longing to have a deep connection with another person. And again, this could be romantic, this could be platonic. It's that longing where you're just like, "I just want to be able to open with another person and not have to worry about having my boundaries crossed and having to reinforce them all the time and having walls sky high because there's some weird secret jealousy or just not great intentions, like not pure intentions, like actually being around somebody where they have pure intentions for you and you have pure intentions for them, and just having that just connection with another person where you don't have to be so guarded. You can let this person all the way in and it's safe to do so. And then I feel like you're also desiring to have a person fully let you in that same way where it's very mutual and it's very like you both understand what a gift and a responsibility it is to be given that level of access to another person, especially at this point on the journey. Somebody who's been, you know, doing their inner work and knows and has boundaries and is choosy with who gets what kind of access, and then being that person. This could be romantic because it's that energy, or it's like best friend, but it's that energy of like wanting to be the one person that gets that level of access to this person who doesn't let others in like that. And it's for a reason, right? It's self-protection. And then it's like you are craving to give somebody else access to you like that. And it's the level of access that you would not give another person. And so I feel like this is something maybe you've discovered in your hermit mode, is that desire, and then also understanding and seeing where maybe you could have given a little more access and you chose not to out of fear of getting hurt, and where maybe you gave too much access and then you ended up getting hurt. And again, we're in that predator victim kind of thing where you're looking at where maybe you were at fault, and then where, and just kind of looking at in like self awareness and self acceptance and self um kind of realization, I guess. In looking at those things and like reflecting on, holy shit, I did this because of that, and I did this because of that, and I acted in this way because of that, and I was giving my power away, so then I attracted a lot of lack energy and a lot of this and a lot of that, and I didn't have to do that, and woo, that's going to bring up some stuff, and it's a process. So go easy on yourself. Go easy. Give yourself a pat on the back. You're doing great. Give yourself grace. Give yourself the grace that you would extend to another person. We tend to beat ourselves up way harder than anybody else. So give yourself the same grace that you would extend to another person on this journey going through the shit that you're going through. And then, you know, keep those boundaries and so on and so forth. And know that if you are desiring to give somebody this level of access, and this is something that you are wanting to manifest, you are absolutely shifted now into that energy where you could give somebody that level of access. And I feel like you know that. For some of you, you know already who this person is that you want to give this level of access to. There's just an awkwardness that I'm getting in the energy right now between you and this person. So there could be a little bit it's just awkward. That's the best way I could describe the feeling I'm feeling. It's kind of awkward. It's like if you could get over this weird awkward energy, this is the person that you could give total access to you. And of course, you're still gonna have boundaries, but this is the person that's gonna respect your boundaries. You're not gonna need to like lay them out and reinforce it constantly. They're going to be like, yeah, dude, I wouldn't do that to you because I respect you and I've been there and I understand and I'm not going to do that to you. It's that kind of energy. And so, yeah, it's an interesting feeling. It's like there's an awkwardness in this energy where you want to go to this person and start to create a bond in such a way where you can give this person access to you in a deeper way than anybody else has had, and then you want access to this person in a way that this person doesn't give to other people. So it's kind of it's really interesting. And I'm feeling like it would be safe to do so. I feel like this person would want to do that with you as well. So whether this is like a really close friend or a romantic interest, those are the two main things that I'm getting off this energy. Um I feel like that's an okay thing to go for. I really do. So, again, like I'm not getting any specifics about this, probably because it's collective. Um, but it's like allow yourself to kind of move through whatever this awkwardness is because there is like a soul bond between you and that person. So I feel like that's a little more specific. That's more for like if you've done this internal work and you're like, yes, this is the person that I want to share this with, this side of me with. It's kinda coming through to be like, it's safe to do so. Um, and there's a part of you that knows that, and maybe you'll ease into it, just because of experience and everything else. So maybe you're not just gonna, like, hand them the key, but it's one of those, like, at some point you'd be able to hand this person the key, to your heart, like what it said in the book. Like, you could hand this person the key to your heart, and they wouldn't take advantage of it. So, um, and vice versa. Like, I'm seeing an exchanging of like heart keys between two people. It's kind of an interesting visualization. Like, here's the key to mine. I'll take the key to yours. And, you know, I'm honored. Like, it's that kind of energy. It's really sweet. So yeah, so I feel like it's kind of funny because I feel like from the outside looking in, a lot of people who know you probably think that you've been just like not doing much. But in the energy that's coming through, you've been doing a whole hell of a lot. So good job. And just understand this is the type of work where you're gonna start experiencing things like quantum leaps or miracles or magic. And that's what it looks like from the outside because you've done all this internal work and then it's like you're stagnant for a year or two or seven, just depending on what cycle you're in and your own unique journey. But it'll look like you're not doing a whole lot, that you're just kind of stagnant and stuff. And you're just kind of changing and you just kind of don't want to be around people in the same way. And oh, I don't know what's going on with that person and da 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 da. And then all of a sudden it's like you come out and you're like, all right, I'm ready to do this. But you're different. You are different. You've got boundaries. You've healed some things, so you're not engaging in the same way. And then things start to happen for you. You start to get opportunities. You get, extra resources and then, you align with soul family. And things like that. Maybe you change your career and you start doing something that you're actually passionate about, so on and so forth. And so it'll look like these changes are happening just randomly. Or it'll be like, oh my gosh, you're so lucky. And you're like, dude, I've been manifesting this shit for 2 years, but thank you. But yeah, on the outside looking in, it can look like that. Like, holy shit, you went and did nothing for a year and then boom, you've quantum leaped into a completely new experience. Like, yeah. And I also got my fucking ass kicked. So that's what it felt like. Because, sometimes when you're getting into alignment, it feels like you're getting your ass kicked by the time. It can feel like that. So, anyways, this is beautiful. I feel like you're getting ready to emerge from hermit mode. And emerging from hermit mode and leveling up, it's fun. So have fun with it. Just sometimes you kind of walk around with like a smirk. Like around people that and they're just kind of like, dude, what the fuck's different about you? And you're just like, what? Mhm. Like, where you want to start? Start conspiracies? You want to talk dimensions? Like, what do you want? Just kidding. I'm just gonna stand here and smirk and be like, nothing. It's all good. Um, anyhow, it is fun, so have fun with it. But yeah. Alrighty dokie. And just know too, because I do feel like sometimes hermit mode can feel very lonely. It can feel like, and part of hermit mode is to kind of feel lonely, because what that does is that forces you to go within. And when you're forced to go within and look at some of these things, then you're forced to start connecting with the divine in whatever way that is for you. It could be spirit guides, angels, God, the divine, the universe, source creator of all things, et cetera, et cetera. It's starting to connect with the spiritual realm. And when you're forced to do that and you're connecting with the spiritual realms, you start getting different kinds of guidance, and your intuition comes online in a little different way. And you start to notice what your intuition is guiding you towards. You start paying attention to it and listening to it and following your heart space and things like that. And so the thing is it can be lonely. And then now, especially with this door card out here, what I'm getting is this is something that's coming in for you now, is these connections where you can kind of come out of your bubble a little bit more with other people, and it's safe to do so. And of course, still have your boundaries and so on and so forth, and limit access where it's necessary, where it makes sense to listen to your intuition. But it's one of those, like, it's really kind of taking a turn here soon for you, if it's not already, where you are going to be called out of hermit mode. I feel like a lot of you are actually being called out of hermit mode now. You're just not really listening. No judgment. I get it. That's what the energy feels like. Like you're being called to come out of hermit mode, but then you're like, but it's safe and comfortable here and I've gotten used to it and I'm good. The thing is you are now getting ready to align with people who you can give deeper levels of access to your internal world. And they're not going to take it for granted or take advantage of it, and so on and so forth. So just know that. Trust yourself, trust how far you've come on this journey, trust your higher self, trust your guides, the divine, whatever you work with. Trust your intuition, trust that your heart space is leading you towards this magnificent life that you are manifesting for yourself. So allow yourself to listen to your heart. And when your heart says it's safe to open up a little bit to somebody, trust that. Even though there's going to be part of you that's like, this doesn't feel safe. That's old programming. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's your ego coming up saying, remember last time and it hurt like hell. And you're like, yeah, but I'm getting the guidance that it's safe to do so now. And so allow yourself to lean in a little bit. And then you'll get it confirmed over time that it is safe to open up more and more to this person. And then also trust that you'll open to a certain point. And then if you start feeling weird and getting some kind of insight, like, wait a minute, this person is kind of, you know, doing this or doing that or different things, then you kind of like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, so maybe that's the level of access. So maybe bump them out just a smidge and then keep it there. And it's kind of like you feel into it. Um, anyhow, okay. Well, this is very profound. So good job. Ultimately keep going. Make sure you're listening to your intuition. And when it's time for you to come out of hermit mode, do your best to listen to it. It always, yeah, I get it. The divine kind of has to sit me down and be like, you need to go out. Oh no, go people. I'm like, okay, all right. So I do get it. But it does feel good. Like when you allow yourself to finally get out and go, hang out or whatever, go to an event or whatever, it can feel good. So just know that. So just allow yourself to, follow that guidance. Ultimately, this is where you're really starting to listen to your intuition more so than the logic. And it's one of those, like, logic is good. There's a time, space, and place for it. When it comes to living your dream life in alignment with your most authentic self, that's when it's really recommended to listen to your intuition on some of these things as well. So you feel that heart pull towards a person, you follow your intuition, you follow your guidance, you connect with this person. And then you do that. And then there'll be a situation where it's like, okay, now you're being called to start a business. All right, you're going to need to pull into your logical mind and like learn some things. And, is it, what platform or whatever, right? I'm thinking content creator, but, um, you learn different things and you kind of use your logic, then your intuition will also be talking to you as well. Like, let's go content creator. Do I start with this platform, this one, this one, this one? You'll feel an intuitive hit. Follow that one. But you're primarily in that logical space, you know what I mean? So it's a balance. But definitely when it comes to these interpersonal relationships, Right now, I feel like you're being guided to more listen to your heart space. And it's because of the amount of inner work that you've been doing. So allow yourself to follow that guidance from your heart space to people who can actually have different levels of access to you and not take advantage of it. So yeah. Well, with that, this is really powerful. Wishing you all the best. You got this. Keep going. Um, you're well on your way. So this is beautiful. Um, be expecting your life to completely transform. Like you're in that energy where your life is about to look completely different very, very soon in a very positive way where you're going to be very happy with the way that life looks very, very soon. So just keep staying open to that, keep listening to your guidance, and you'll get there. Alrighty dokie. Well, with that, I'm going to leave this here. If this resonates, you can let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear about it. You can also affirm this energy in the comments as well. It's kind of an energetic exchange. Do what resonates. Feel free to hit that like button. It does help out the channel, so thank you. And if you would like to see more from me, you can hit subscribe. It is free. I will see you on the next message. Bye.